Handler of the Maine Comfort dog who died in a hot car earlier this year is now charged in the animal's death. According to the Penobscot County District Attorney's Office, Brody Hinckley is facing a civil violation of animal cruelty. I spoke with the DA to learn more about the investigation.
There's a lot of public interest in this case from both sides.
Friday's announcement of a charging decision in the death of Baxter comes more than 3 months after the Comfort dog's death. The 3-year-old chocolate lab was found inside a state vehicle at the Bangor Regional Communications Center in late May. That prompted an independent investigation from the state's animal welfare program. District Attorney Christopher Almy says investigators looked into the conditions of Brody Hinckley's car and how long he left Baxter unattended.
He was in the car for over 4 hours. When Mr. Hinckley first let the dog in the car, he indicated that the air conditioning was running, but apparently the battery in the vehicle went low and the car stopped running and the air conditioning went off.
The temperature in Bangor that day reached 83 degrees. According to the National Weather Service, that air temp can result in a car's interior reaching about 125 degrees in just an hour. I asked Almy where his office drew the line between a tragic accident and a situation that warranted legal action.
It's a difficult situation, and I think that's one of the things that we really had to deliberate on. First of all, it's important that dogs that are left in a cars be attended to. That's the responsibility of the owner or caretaker. On the other hand, you have a caretaker who was devoted to the dog and has a lot of remorse. So you balance those issues, and we came to the conclusion that the civil violation of cruelty to animals is correct. It's not a criminal offense, it's a civil offense.
A public safety spokesperson says the department placed Hinckley on paid administrative leave from his role as emergency communications director effective immediately. The department says it acknowledges the profound impact this event had on many Mainers, but it asks, quote, "Out of respect for our professional telecommunicators, that the public please refrain from contacting our dispatch centers directly regarding this incident to ensure our dispatchers can remain focused on answering emergency calls and supporting the safety of our communities," unquote. Hinckley has been issued a summons to appear in court in November.